Hey guys, I'm here today to talk to all the parents out there because I've been hearing that parenting in a pandemic is really hard. And believe me, I get it. I'm right there with you. I think working from home and doing school from home and going about trying to keep kids occupied and ourselves occupied while so many things have changed is really difficult. So I'm just here to maybe just share some thoughts with you this morning. So the things that I know that are happening and that I hear from friends and that are happening in my own house are just different behaviors that maybe weren't there before. Some of this may sound more like I'm talking to people with younger kids. Maybe that's temper tantrums or acting out behavior problems that you are seeing that seem to be escalating. But I think that all of this information also really pertains to our tweens and our teenagers too, because they're going through the same stressors and they may be having their own behaviors that you're seeing, like wanting to isolate in their room or maybe some moodiness or just talking back, I guess you could call it, that you hadn't seen there before. All of this might be helpful for that. So the first thing that I offer that I think all parents out there, all of us just need to collectively have a moment for self-compassion. So we can just pause and take a deep breath and realize that we have never done this before. There is not a playbook for it or a set of rules, and that you are doing the best that you can with what you've been given in this moment, and that's all you can do. So in an effort to just take a pause for self-compassion, let's just breathe in some compassion for ourselves and breathe out self-criticism. Maybe taking another deep breath in, breathing in some loving kindness for ourselves, and breathing out self-doubt. Because, again, we're doing the best we can with what we've been given. And so what follows is just some suggestions and just some things that maybe can help you feel a little bit more confident in your parenting skills as things change. But these are also not hard, fast rules, and you're doing nothing wrong. It's just here for support. So the first thing that I would offer after you've ground yourself, we got to show up for ourselves first, right? We got to show up with that self-compassion and in a place where we can be present, grounded, and really honest with ourselves so that we can give that to our kids. So that's the first step. The second step, I would say, is when you see all the external behaviors, is recognizing that that is just a symptom of what's going on internally, and that our kids are experiencing exactly the same things we are in terms of worry and stress and difficulty with adjustment. They're experiencing the same grief and loss because maybe they can't go to the activities that they want to go to, or big things have been canceled, graduations, school dances, tournaments, lots of different things that kids were really looking forward to have been canceled. Maybe they're missing family members that they're not able to see. They're certainly missing their friends and their teachers and their routine. It's all different. So all of that is going on inside of them, and they're trying to adjust to. And so the behaviors that you're seeing, the temper tantrums, the fighting, the moodiness, those are all symptoms of what's going on internally. Excuse me. So after you've grounded yourself, you've shown up for yourself, now we're going to step in and show up for our kids with that same presence and honesty. So labeling their feelings is really helpful. So looking beyond the behaviors, looking past the behaviors and labeling what you see as a feeling. I can see you're really frustrated. I can see you're confused about this. I can see this makes you angry. So all those feelings are really valid, and we need to label them for our kids and validate them. So I see that you're really frustrated with this. I'm frustrated too. I would be frustrated too if I was in that position. So labeling, validating the feeling, and then starting to explore a little bit more. So, what I like to call it is listening to understand, because we want to be able to hear where they're coming from and not be there to just be listening so that we can give them our next response. We want to hear what they're saying and what their perspective is. So, start to explore, get curious about what they think and what's happening with them, and really listen to understand, hearing where they're coming from, so that then your response can take that into consideration and then let them hear where you're coming from. So there's some reciprocity in the relationship. Um, and when we do that, then we can have a conversation. Then we can set a limit with our kids and offer them some choices and be there to be able to be of a support. So we're going to, again, these are the steps that I suggest maybe trying this week or just incorporating into what you're already doing, because again, what you're doing is enough. This is just some suggestions to maybe help you out. First, ground ourselves in that self-compassion. Take a minute when we hear the fight going on, when we hear something, somebody yelling or screaming in the other room. The first reaction is not the one we want our kids to get. We want them to get our best response, not our first reaction. So we ground ourselves. Take a minute, take a breath, give yourself a second, offer yourself some compassion, and then go show up for your kids with that same presence. Label their feelings for them. Validate that experience. Explore, let them be able to talk to you about what's going on, and then set a limit and offer some choices. So it could look something like this. I hear two kids screaming in the other room. I don't know, maybe this has happened to me before, a time or two. I hear two kids screaming. They've been arguing for a while, trying to let them work it out, and then all of a sudden you hear this big scream, maybe something falls on the floor. The reaction, the one that we don't want them to see, is to scream, "What are you doing? What were you thinking? Don't treat your sibling like that." What we can do is, before we rush in, we don't need to react so quickly. We take a second. I'll take a second. Take a deep breath. Recognize how I'm feeling in that moment. Maybe I have some things that I'm also trying to get done and I'm overly stressed, but that is really not my kids' concern, and that's not part of what they need to deal with. I don't need to tell them about that. And they're not there to fix my feelings. So I check in with my own feelings. I ground myself in the present moment. And then I come in and I say, I can see you guys are really angry with each other right now. I would be angry too if my brother just took the Xbox controller out of my hand and told me I couldn't play anymore. How do you feel about this, and what would you like to see happen? And so I start to explore what's going on with each kid and understanding where they're coming from. And then I say, I get it. You really want to be able to spend time with your brother. You want to also be able to play Xbox with your friends, because you haven't been able to see them and you're missing them. And I totally get that. We can't have all this screaming and talking to each other this way in this house. So I have some choices. Maybe we can all take a 10-minute break, go to our rooms, or if you want to go outside and play some basketball, and then let's come back together and come up with a schedule for the Xbox so that you all get to see your friends. So just an example, maybe something that's happened before over here at our house, maybe not sure. But hopefully that's helpful, and maybe taking a different approach to all the different things that are happening in your house and that you're not used to. And, just some resources too. If, our kids are worried about this pandemic, and so going ahead and talking to them about that too, maybe exploring the way, what worries that they may be having, and then giving them some honest understanding about what's going on. That's always really helpful. If you struggle with self-compassion yourself, like I'm talking about this self-compassion thing to you, and you're like, what in the world is that? I can't do that. Maybe check out the work of Kristen Neff, Neff. She has a self-compassion workbook and a lot of great material on her website that's free. and self-compassion, because self-compassion can be a great coping skill for ourselves, but also our children during this time or any time. So check that out. And also, if you need support, don't be scared to reach out, because you know, there are people out there that can help you, different therapists that work in this field that can be of support to you as a parent, or if you feel like your child needs support because they are having some difficulty getting through this adjustment. So reach out to the therapists that you know, or research them. Again, I think I've mentioned this before. Psychology Today is a nationwide database that can help you find a therapist that might be able to help you, and that maybe uses telehealth or online counseling, because during this time of social distancing, we're not able to go into the office. So you still have resources, use them. And again, just remember, you're doing the best you can with what you've been given. Um, Thank you guys. See you soon.